Yes, thank you. Good morning, and welcome to the Universalist Church Online, in which love is the spirit on this first weekend of spring. We are glad you are here, whether you're joining us from West Hartford, Connecticut, or anywhere in the world. I'm Jim, one of the trustees on the Universalist Church Board. If you're attending worship through our YouTube live stream, we invite you to connect with us more deeply. Visit our webpage. That's www.westhartforduu.org to learn more. There you can use the contact page to get onto our mailing list or let us know how you'd like to get involved. Our electronic communications are the best way for us to stay connected. We look forward to helping you become part of the Universalist Church no matter where you live. Online worship can be wonderful, and technology sometimes fails us. We appreciate your graciousness when that happens. Today's order of service will appear in the Zoom chat box and the YouTube description. Our Zoom fellowship time will begin shortly after worship ends. If you're attending through Zoom today, please stay online, even if you need to step away for a short break, to connect with one another. If you're part of our Zoom community, but watching on YouTube, you can always jump onto Zoom for fellowship after the service ends. Creating and strengthening our connections with one another is so important while we wait for the pandemic to end. These online fellowship times can help us do that. Now, please take a moment to turn off your email and other apps, put the keyboard away, and settle in for worship.
If you happen to have a home chalice, please light it with me. And now join me in speaking the words of our affirmation, our covenant. It is in the description and in the chat. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning, Universalist Church. My name is Ahmad, Elliott, and this morning I would like to read to you a story named A Young Boy and His Gramps. Today's story could easily have been my story since I grew up in Connecticut, but for today, let's just say this story begins with Jeremiah. Jeremiah is 10. He is curious, funny, and lives on Seymour Street in the third floor flat with his mom, brother, sister, and his dad. Jeremiah has a very special relationship with his grandparents who live 4 blocks over on the second floor of their 3-story building. Jeremiah has learned many things from his Gramps since he used to own the car repair shop in the middle of their neighborhood. However, the one thing Jeremiah loved most about his Gramps was how much he loved to play checkers with him on warm days. Gramps had a special smile that came over his face whenever Jeremiah won a round of checkers, especially double-top checkers. That smile came from the pride that welled up within because Gramps had taught him how to play. Gramps was a gentle soul. He was always out and about in the neighborhood, especially these days since he retired when Jeremiah was 5, and he is now 10. Gramps had also taught some of Jeremiah's friends things about cars and engines. He loved sharing what he knew about the special qualities of certain models of cars, like the Oldsmobile Cutlass and the Ford Mustang. Gramps still had his 1972 hatchback Mustang and kept it running like a top. Today, Jeremiah left his flat and headed to his granddad's. It is a bright, sunny Saturday morning, and it is relatively early, about 8:30 a.m. Jeremiah is really excited because today he and Gramps have a date to play checkers on the front porch off Gramps' flat. Gramps has bet Jeremiah that he will beat him 3 times out of 5, the games that they will play this morning. Jeremiah is strutting his stuff as he walks the 4 blocks over to Gramps' place. He is certain that he can win since he's been studying a strategy book that he found in the local library on double-top checkers. His swagger is obvious as he walks up the stairs to his Gramps' place. Jeremiah can also smell his Gramps' honey biscuits as he climbs the stairs. The neighborhood, though, seems unusually quiet for this hour on a Saturday morning. There is a sense of foreboding in the air, and it's making Jeremiah a little more cautious than usual. Jeremiah climbs the side stairs up to the second floor, pushes open the screen door, and walks into the kitchen. He greets his Gramps with a chipper, "How you be this morning?" Gramps smiles and says, "I got a batch of honey biscuits ready for you in the oven. They should be out in a couple of minutes. Hope you are hungry. Grab a glass and pour yourself some milk. And while you're in the fridge, grab the jar of our homemade berry jam. I already have the butter here on the stove." Gramps walks into the kitchen. "How's life been treating you, Jeremiah?" he asked. Jeremiah responds, "The school has been a challenge this week. We started studying some of our own history this week to celebrate Black History Month. Oh, and I've been looking forward to testing some of my newly studied checker strategies out on you today, Gramps." I think I can win the first 3 games with you right off the top. Gramps just smiled, that soft, gentle smile of knowing that Jeremiah knew so well. They both had their biscuits and then proceeded out to the porch to set up their game board and checkers. They made it through the first 2 games, and Jeremiah was feeling pretty cocky since he had won both. As they cleared the board, though, Jeremiah noticed Gramps didn't look himself. He seemed to lose the light in his eyes and that soft smile. Something was wrong. Gramps slumped in his chair, and Jeremiah went to get his Gramps. Jeremiah was very scared. He had never seen his Gramps look like this. Gramps called 911, and the EMTs were there in what seemed like a minute. They placed an oxygen mask over Gramps and told Jeremiah and his Gramps that they needed to take him to the hospital immediately. Gramps had a heart attack. Jeremiah never got to play that final round of checkers. The next time he saw his Gramps, he was in the hospital with all kinds of tubes and machines surrounding him. Jeremiah's dad took him to see Gramps. During that visit, Jeremiah learned from a person called a chaplain that his Gramps was dying. Jeremiah had never been with a person dying before, and he felt all kinds of feelings. He was very sad, but pushed back his tears because he wanted his Gramps to know, he did not want him to know, how sad he was. He just hung outside the hospital room for what seemed forever. Then the chaplain called Jeremiah and his father back into the room. All the tubes, except the oxygen, had been removed. The chaplain told Jeremiah that even if his Gramps did not open his eyes, he could still hear him, and it would be good if he could say his goodbyes. Jeremiah thanked his Gramps for all the times he played checkers with him and beat him, because it made him a better player. He also told him how much he loved him and gave him a big, long hug. This was a day that changed Jeremiah's life forever. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Please join now in singing our Doxology. We are grateful for all the ways in which you support us and one another. By offering your time, talent, and treasure to this community, you help us serve the members, friends, and wider community of this congregation. As part of that service, we share our general offerings each week with organizations that are in harmony with our values, who do work in the world that brings us ever closer to creating the beloved community. Our offering today will be shared with Journey Home. Journey Home works in forming partnerships of various local organizations, elected officials, businesses, and local communities in Greater Hartford. They work to end the barriers to housing, employment, social services, and health care for the homeless. They apply sustainable solutions to the barriers that create cycles of homelessness and have spent more than a decade working to end chronic disease homelessness in the Greater Hartford region. Please use the links in the chat, the description, and on our website to make your donation to this organization today. Donate through our secure Breeze account, https://ucwh.breeze.chms.com/give/online.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth's call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the truth. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
This day, from our congregation, there is all good news. As spring arrived, so did healing and relocations. Judy B. would like to thank folks for sending text messages and cards, and now that she is home, she would love to continue to hear from you. She appreciates your care and support as she continues to recover. Beth B., after breaking her wrist, is in a much more reasonable support for her wrist after her initial break. And as she noted in her phone conversation with me the other day, she is healing very well. Marissa B. was injured in a fall Friday evening. Dan reports that she is resting at home now and doing well, but has a lot of recuperation and follow-ups this coming week. Love from family and friends works wonders for her spirits, and your best wishes are most welcome. Finally, from our beloved community, Nan and Clark R. have been relocated to a facility which will aid them both as they continue to enjoy life. They love cards, and you can find their information for sending them in Breeze. Outside our immediate community, in our hospital community, I have received a request for lifting up Teresa and her parents, as well as all people who deal with addiction and the consequences of it in their lives. It is an exceptional journey for all those who are affected, and they need our support, our loving energy, and our prayers. As we begin our time of reflection, besides holding all these mentioned, as well as all those held silently in our hearts, let us pray with the words of our colleague from the Church of the Larger Fellowship, Carol Mayer. Courage. May we open ourselves ever more fully to that eternal mystery which lures us onward toward life and creativity. May we find the courage to live our faith, to speak our truth, and to strive together for a world where freedom abounds and justice truly does roll down like water. May we know the fullness of love without fear and the serenity of peace without turmoil. May we hold one another in the deep and tender places with compassion, and may we grace one another by sharing our own vulnerabilities, being ever mindful of the divinity within that makes soulmates of all of us. Please join me now in our moments of silence. May each of us speak our courage to the world in who we are and what we bring to our days ahead. May it be so.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Today's readings are taken from Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. The whole point is that it never ends. Even if it only comes and goes, even if you hide it from others, especially if you hide it from yourself, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. Even if you wonder some days if it was ever real. Even if you think deep down that it's someone else's. Even if you think its beauty has nothing to do with you. Even if you haven't seen it in so long it feels lost to you. Especially if it feels lost to you. Even if it's buried so deep you have to mine past the hardest parts of you. even if it's only your secret, especially if it's only your secret. Even if it's just a grain of sand, a mustard seed, I want you to know that your love is enough. You can always begin again. I have this deeply held belief that there's this place I'll reach, this state of mind, meaning heart, where I become too aware, too conscious to be hurt again, or too enlightened to fall down neck deep in the mess of my ego. I keep thinking there will be this X marks the spot, this plateau where I arrive, this place where I free myself once and for all from myself. But there is no there. The whole point is that it never ends. It isn't a failure to feel human, to be broken by heartbreak. It's the whole point. The choice we have, the opportunity that's present to us in those moments of exquisite pain, is to also remember the soul. We can bring in the other half of what it means to be human. Try not to curse the pain or avoid it. Try not to run from it and numb it. Try to see it as our chance to reach a love that can withstand it. Not permanently. Nothing is permanent. Just in this moment. That's all that matters. Find the presence of love in those moments when before you had abandoned yourself. Even if it's just a little love, a grain of sand, a mustard seed. Your love is enough. Our second reading is taken from The Tapestry of Life Behind Each Door by Reverend Julie Cecil. I walk the long hallways that house the tapestry of life behind each door. I'm a hospital chaplain. I remember the day we led the service to kneel with and for all those who could reflect on and learn from George Floyd's death. I led a prayer that joined the tears and the eternity of 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That same day, I remember the Hindu family and the loss of their beloved baby girl. I met her in her ceremonial garment, surrounded by elements that grounded her parents' faith. As we talked of her being mingled with the dust of others, her family liked that she wouldn't be alone. That same day, a person of color tentatively spoke her need for an abortion and pleaded her case, only to find warmth where judgment was expected. Each day and every day, I enter the same doors, but with different lives and needs behind them. Chaplains enter in and reaffirm the dignity and worth to the ones who feel anything but dignified, wearing communal gowns in what had just been someone else's bed. And then we chart the interconnections and their search for truth and meaning.
worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
Yes, come. Bring with you the music of the lovely women that were shared with you this day. Bring with you the sadness and the delight of Jeremiah and his Gramps. Bring with you the hallways of Reverend Julie's hospital and her patients behind the doors. Bring with you the mustard seed of love that is a permanently impermanent reality of our daily lives. Wake your senses and experience with my sharing with you this day that this chaplain's life is one that focuses on the patients, their families, and all the staff members that bring this form of social justice to them. From the UUA's Social Justice Empowerment Program Handbook, one finds the following. Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal theology of engagement. We draw inspiration and truth from experiencing each other and the world around us. In doing so, we necessarily witness both the beauty and the brokenness of our world. And that's why we are here. Because we have chosen to do social justice work in the context of our religious community. Being religiously grounded is key to effectiveness because it helps frame issues from an authentic religious perspective, and it helps us speak and act from a religious perspective as well. One of the elements of this handbook is building strong relationships, and it reads, "The more we are in relationship with each other and approach social justice in ways that value this relationship, the better off we'll be as a community." This type of sharing, namely personal, ethical, emotional, spiritual, and/or theological, is necessary both for effective justice work as well as for personal and congregational development. So this day, I'm going to share 2 stories of relationship with you and reflect, as I do this sharing, how I lean into conversation and presence so that I serve our faith in being a witness to the mustard seed of love that speaks justice wherever it blooms into fullness, however it emerges as relationships deepen and are shared. It's about 9:30 in the evening on a Saturday. I'm walking through the emergency department making rounds, as I do on my weekend 12-hour shift at St. Francis Hospital, and I see out of the corner of my eye a young African-American woman sitting on a bed in the hallway crying. There is no one near her, no staff member, no medical nurse, nor any family member. I approach cautiously since I don't wish to embarrass or frighten her. Often, when folks see my badge of chaplain, they feel something must be terribly wrong. Their mind automatically flies into a pre-dying space. This young woman looks up, and I acknowledge her with my eyes and then introduce myself as Reverend Joy Christi, who is one of the hospital chaplains. I say, "I'm here to help you in any way I can. It seems you are very upset. Would you be willing to share with me for a few moments? The young woman explains she has just been brought into the hospital by the EMTs, who came to her aid at the side of Highway 9 after she had been in an auto accident. Her car had hit a large body of water and slid into the center barriers between lanes. She was shaking as she told me her story. She also shared that this car was the only one that she and her mother owned to get them both to work and school. And now, what were they going to do? She was in nursing school, and she had never been in an accident before. How was she going to tell her mother that this had happened? She had spoken through tears and now began sobbing. As we continued sharing, the police officer that usually comes around the ED with the tickets approached us. He interrupts our conversation. They often do this, especially with people of color. I stop him before he gets too far and say, "We were in the middle of a conversation, sir, but perhaps you missed that because she was crying and you didn't hear. I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to support this young woman while you share with her. Will that be all right with you?" I always try to be a supportive presence in my role as a chaplain. It is always critical for me to just be present in these instances, especially with younger folks when they have no other adult around. It is definitely what the Social Justice Handbook referred to as the relationships that build social justice communities. The police officer reminds me of the dragnet detective who is just the facts, ma'am, kind of character. I just dated myself, I realize that. His sharing is dry, direct, and curt, and unfortunately delivered with next to no empathy. He hands the young woman a $350 ticket and notes she will need to get to City Hall in the next 10 days to handle it. He leaves, and the young woman looks up at me. How am I going to handle this? Now, not only do my mother and I have not a car, but here we have a bill. We'll have to figure out how to pay, and we are already strapped for finances. That's why Mom is working 2 jobs, and I'm working one besides going to school. I tell her she has time to handle that, knowing full well that she might not have time. Right now, she needs to make sure she is physically okay, since she has been through a major trauma. I also recommend that she wait until she and her mom can sit down and figure this all out. I provide her with my chaplain card, give her my phone number so that she can connect with me if she needs support. I ask her if I can give her a blessing before I leave her bedside. She agrees, and so we pray together. She smiles as I leave her side, and as I walk away, as I do often, Spirit of life is hummed in my inner being, and a hope that all will be well with this young woman and her mother as her life will continue to unfold.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet
come into my next story. This story begins about midday, around 4:30 in the afternoon. I have been paged to come to the maternity unit. The page gives me a number to return the call. The mother's maternity unit nurse answers and says, Alima, the patient, has just given birth to her child, and she and her husband have asked for a chaplain since the baby lived for about 10 minutes and died in Alima's arms. As I walk to the opposite end of the hospital from where I presently am and ride the elevator, I focus my walking on repeating a phrase I use to center myself. Spirit, please provide me with compassion and care. Guide my steps and words to give and bring love to Alima. One goes through 3 sets of doors to get into the maternity unit. I stop at the unit desk and ask exactly where the room is, as well as to find out if there is anything else that has transpired between my call and arriving. The unit secretary and the nurses present me with the fact that the room is down the hall and to the left. I ask who is present. The husband is with the mother, and the child is in a bassinet in the room. The patient's attending nurse is also in the room with the parents. The nurses, as they always do at the nurse desk, thank me for coming so quickly, and I thank them for allowing me to be of service to them and this family. I knock on the door and am beckoned in by a female voice. I open the door and walk into the room. I introduce myself as Reverend Joy Christi, one of the hospital chaplains. I go to the bedside of the mother and acknowledge the father on the other side of the bed in one of our roll-in bed chairs provided for them to stay overnight. It is obvious that they have both been crying and are still processing this very immediate loss. I swallow my tears as I look at them. And the tiny baby wrapped in a bundle in the bassinet. How can I be of help to you, I say. The woman looks up at me and starts crying as she explains, she did everything they told me to do. I ate all the right things. I stopped my bad snack habits. I got enough sleep for me and my baby. I lost a child last year, and I can't even imagine trying to have another child again. The husband walks over to the crib and picks up the baby and brings it to me. Can you please bless him so that he is safe on his journey to Allah? We need and want your blessing as tears fall freely down his cheeks. I take the child from this burly man's arms and hold it up at the foot of the mother's bed and ask them to pray with me. O Holy Creator, bless this little one, you who brought him into this world for a short time. Alima and Abdul Nasser are grateful for all the time they spent in preparation for this child and grateful for his birth. We stand before you, Allah, with this child, even in this moment of loss. We remain grateful for your care, your unending love, and your gift of life. We ask you to bless us as we continue to love one another. Please give us the strength to keep our trust in you, even as we mourn. Ahim, and blessed be. I go to place the baby back in his mother's arms, and she asks me to put it back into the crib. I provide my condolences to both parents with my eyes over my mask and take my leave. As you have seen, I cry all the way down the elevator back to the pastoral care department. When I get back to my desk, I read a quote from Cicely Tyson that she noted in her autobiography about a lesson before dying, posted in my office. It says, "We don't have long here, children. Our hopes and aspirations may seem limitless, but our days are finite. Our experiences fading in the twinkling of an eye. Death is a love note to the living, to record and regard every day, every breath as sacred. The Spirit is ever beckoning us to heed that wisdom, to get on with what we have been put here to do. I consider each time I walk into a patient's room or meet a family in the elevator or in the halls of the hospital as doing what I was put here to do, to be a bridge between the living and the dying, the healthy and the ill. I have been called to live social justice by loving my brothers and sisters in this way. May each of you know your calling, and as our Social Justice Committee notes in its logo, may you do, give, show up, connect, and learn in your unique way, your unique calling. Amen, and may it be so.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
These are words from Reverend Margalie Belazar, taken from her prayer for While in the Struggle. Spirit, help us to understand that we each have a role in justice work, for our liberations are tied to one another's. Give us the clarity of mind to know what our individual part is in the struggle, that there are many ways to protest injustice. Help us to find our way and commit to it. We ask for guidance. Send us strength and endurance. Help us to give our all to this and hold nothing back, for precious lives depend on it. We will be imperfect. Rest assured that we will mess up over and over again, and we must do it anyway. May we summon the courage to tear down the systems of injustice and get busy creating a world community with justice for all. May it be so. Amen. And now I ask you to join me in speaking our unison benediction together. Engage with the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Have a wonderful week ahead, and make sure if you're stepping away, you come back to our Zoom gatherings so that you can truly connect with one another. Blessings and good things for all.